and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the H+H Football Podcast. We're back with the actual football content. We did a break to look at March Madness. Everybody loves March Madness. Who cares? But we're back talking about just the meat of the offseason, the absolute cake, dessert, whatever you want to call it, the NFL draft. Oh, am I excited to talk NFL draft. Last time we covered the NFL draft, we talked about winners and losers. This time, as you can see, we have Elisha Segars of the Ball Oasis podcast. He's been grinding, talking about the NFL playoffs. Love having him back on. And as you can see, that is not Jackson, even though they look identical. This is Jake Hughey, Jackson's brother. First time having him on the H+H podcast, buddy. How's it going?
Oh, good. Good to be here.
Lovely. Having another Titans fan back on the pod. But yeah, we are delving into so many things about this past weekend's NFL draft. We're going to be talking about a lot. We're going to be covering each of our three most favorite picks from the NFL draft across all 7 rounds, our 3 winners of the NFL draft as far as teams go, and our 3 losers. So we got a lot to cover. Might be a long episode, y'all. Sit back, strap in, get as dialed as we are, because this is going to be a long episode, and I'm excited, man. Obviously, as a Titans fan, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, I know I'm outnumbered on here as a Texans fan, but I'm excited for you guys. It's exciting times to have, hopefully, a rivalry come back to the division.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Maybe we can keep up this year.
And I hope so.
But let's start off. We're going to do a rotation here. I'm off the dome. The rotation's going to be Jake, since this is first time on, Elijah, and then me. So we're going to start with Jake, hit Elijah, hit me, as far as we're going to go best picks. We each have 3 of our best picks, so we're just going to, cycle through each other until we're done. Same with winners and same with losers. So yeah, let's no more yapping. Let's continue, and let's start this NFL drafts episode. Jake, who was your first favorite pick of the entire
My favorite
draft?
pick was Nick Amonware from South Carolina, the safety. He reminds me like Kyle Hamilton with his size and his athleticism. I think he can be a good fit.
I like it.
That's a good one. He's a very good player.
I like him to the Seahawks. I think that'll be great.
What about you, Elijah? What was your first favorite pick of the entire draft?
For my first pick, I'll stay with another SEC guy. Going to go with the Carolina Panthers' 3rd round pick with Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss. The edge rusher. Yeah, the edge rusher from Ole Miss. I was kind of shocked to see that he fell to the 3rd round. Upon watching him this year in the SEC, I thought he was one of the best edge rushers in the country. And I was wondering from you guys obviously are more tapped in with football than I am. Why did he fall that far? Like, if I had no prior basis going into it, I would have thought that he would be like a late 1st round, maybe early to mid 2nd round pick. So to see him fall to round 3 was really shocking for me to see. Do y'all know like why he might have fallen so far?
I think it was because of how stacked that Ole Miss D-line was.
That makes sense.
Obviously, headlined by Walter Nolan. If you really look at that Georgia game, it was kind of shocking how well that Ole Miss D-line played, and it included everybody. Yeah, I think he was just a little overshadowed by the bigger names, but I liked him as a player coming out. I think he was a fringe top 50 player for me. I don't think he should have fell all the way to the 3rd.
Yeah.
I feel like this was an edge-heavy draft. Like, there's a bunch of good edge rushers in this draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, this D-line class was stacked.
Yes.
I get the Ole Miss thing. Even at Florida, though, I thought at Florida the year prior, whenever he played at Florida. I thought he was really good there too. I thought he kind of popped off on the film that I watched. So I think that he's got a really bright future. And I know they drafted Nick Scorton as well out of Texas A&M to be another edge rusher as well. So I think both of those picks were really good ones for the Panthers, who are obviously in the midst of a rebuild.
Yeah, that defense was historically terrible last season. So I think the Carolina Panthers had a decent draft. Staying in the state or in the regions of the Carolinas, as Jake said, one of my favorite players of this draft was the Nick Emenwari pick to Seattle. I thought that even before the draft happened, weeks before the draft happened, I thought, Nick Emenwari in Seattle were just a perfect pairing. Super, super athlete, an absolute ball hawk, pick six machine. In the SEC, he's not. People see him like you see him. He's just this absurd athlete as far as relative athletic score goes. Nick Emenwari is the most athletic safety of all time. But people see that was like, oh, he's just a crazy athlete. That's all he can do. That's why he's up here so far. No, he's not just an athlete. He's actually a really, really good football player. You watch his tape this last season in South Carolina. That South Carolina defense was really good, headlined by Nick Emenwari. He's great in the box. He played some slot corner. He was really good there. He's best near the line of scrimmage when he is in the box, like that Derwin James, as Jake said, that Kyle Hamilton role. And he's going to be an amazing, amazing fit in this Mike Macdonald Seattle Seahawks defense. They're going to use him like they did Kyle Hamilton back in Baltimore, help him break out. Emenwari is going to be a perfect fit. That star role, similar to how they use Brian Branch, but even more with Nick Emenwari. He's going to play all over the place, and he's going to excel wherever they put him because he's a freak athlete. He's a ball hawk. He's just got a knack for being, at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Talk about edge rushers in this draft, too, and another South Carolina guy. I considered Kyle Kennard. That South Carolina defense last year was low-key pretty incredible.
It was loaded. You look top to bottom, they had guys. TJ Sanders at the top of the second round, just loaded. Who was your second favorite pick this draft cycle, Jake?
I think I might get not a lot of hate, but I think I might get some hate. I got Will Johnson if he can stay healthy.
I don't hate it.
He was good at Michigan when they won the national championship, but if he can stay healthy, I think he can be a good corner.
I don't hate it. He's got short arms, which is a little questionable for a press man corner. Obviously he's got the injury. Hopefully he can stay healthy. The knee thing with him is an actual real issue. That's why he fell so as far as he did. But teams look at his short arms. It's he's going to be a zone corner in the NFL because of his short arms. But he played mainly press man when he was healthy at Michigan, which was really his claim to fame. But Will Johnson is a good football player.
I could see him as a slot corner.
I think he's a little big to play the slot. I don't think he's also athletic enough to play the slot.
Yeah.
But I think he will be a cornerback 1 or 2 for Arizona, who already had a good secondary. I think Arizona got a steal with him. So and he's teaming up with Marvin Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
Good storyline there, Big Ten rivalry. But I agree. I think Will Johnson was a steal in the second round if he can stay healthy, which is the big knack on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. For my second pick, I went with a Titan. I went with a Tennessee Titan here, and I went with 4th round selection Alec Iomanner out of Stanford, the big wide receiver. If you know nothing else about this guy, just go watch his tape against the Colorado game last season where he absolutely torched Travis Hunter.
That's all you need to look at. Don't look at anything else.
That's all you need to see. Travis Hunter will be in the division with the Jaguars. Just line up Iomanner in front of Travis Hunter and let him cook. But he's got great size. He's a great catch and traffic receiver. He popped off the tape to me, not just in that game. And I think that he's going to be a really good staple in that Tennessee offense for years to come. I really like that pick.
I did like him in the 4th. I was surprised to see him last that long. Speaking of surprising, to see that there down the board. Crazy words. But Malachi Starks at pick 27 to Baltimore. I think he was an easy top 10 pick, top 10 talent for me in this draft. He fell because he didn't have a great 2024, but Georgia was asking him to wear a lot of different hats. They were asking him to play in the slot. They were asking him to play in the box. I'm not surprised if he had some reps at boundary corner this past season. Like, he was asked to do literally everything on that defense. But Malachi Starks, from everything that I've seen, everything that I've heard, he's an amazing leader. He's got incredible work ethic. He's an alpha, and especially in a locker room like Georgia's, being called an alpha you're definitely saying something about that player. He's a ball hawk. He's extremely instinctive, and he's a true free safety. He doesn't have elite athleticism, but for a free safety, I think he ran 4.5 flat at the combine. For a free safety, I think that's completely fine. You don't need to be this uber athlete to be great at free safety. Now, this isn't me comparing him to Ed Reed or anything, but just think someone like Ed Reed, who wasn't the craziest athlete in the world, but had all of the intangibles, all of the, film study, all of this, the knack for being around the football. Like, you can make up for it by not being a crazy athlete. And I think Malachi Starks has a chance to do that. And especially in a place like Baltimore, who does this every year, by the way. They either stick and pick the best player that they possibly could have gotten, or trade back and still get the player that they want. Like, Baltimore continues to do this. They don't trade up. They just stay where they are and continue to have the best draft. Like, it's the really well-run organization in Baltimore. Getting Malachi Starks at 27 is an absolute steal. Easy top 10 guy for me in this draft. It doesn't really get any better than that in 27.
No, I agree. My Texans didn't even need to draft secondary, but whenever I saw that he was going to be available around our 25th overall pick, I was like, hey, Malachi Starks is the best talent on the board. We might as well just pick him up. Just because.
Yeah, I was really waiting for y'all to pick it all. Y'all kept trading back.
Yep. I didn't mind, but Malachi Starks pops off. Great safety, great career at Georgia. He's going to be great in that Baltimore secondary.
All right, Jake, back over to you.
All right. I got Travis Hunter with my third best pick because Jacksonville needed help at receiver and corner, really. Outside of Brian Thomas, I don't think that there's other many good targets besides Gabe Davis with him.
He's not a good target.
Well, he was for the Bills for a year. And then at corner, they really needed help there. So I think he's going to be good for the Jaguars at receiver and corner.
It's hard to go wrong with the best player in the draft.
Yeah.
Indeed. My last guy, this guy I watched this year and just got immediate Brock Bowers vibes. I talk about Brock Bowers like he's like 10 years removed from playing college football. But Tyler Warren at 14 to the Colts, I loved what I saw from Tyler Warren with Penn State this year. He was really him and Drew Aller. They must have had like some type of special connection because over half of Drew Aller's targets every game, it seemed like, went to Tyler Warren. And they found a lot of success with that this year. Tyler Warren was a workhorse. He had some really great catches in traffic. He's a great red zone target, and I think the Colts got a really good one at 14 with Tyler Warren.
It kind of fell in their lap at 14, and it just seemed like best player available. It's like, he's here. Why not take him? I don't hate it. Tyler Warren is a stud. But my last pick,
I had Tyler Warren over Travis Hunter at first.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a really good player.
For the best pick.
My last best pick, it's going to keep the trend. All SEC guys, Jahad Campbell at 31 to Philadelphia. It's similar to the Malachi Starks pick. Both guys, top 10 players in the draft for me, and Philadelphia gets him at 31. Like, Jahad Campbell, he dropped because he had shoulder surgery right after the combine. It's a thing, getting surgery right after the combine doesn't necessarily help you. But again, top 10 player in the draft for me. He was recruited going into Alabama. He was recruited as a 5-star edge rusher. But because, Alabama had all of these guys off the edge on the D-line, Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, there was no room for him to play. So what does Alabama do? They say, hey, go play off-ball linebacker for us. And what does he do? He's exceptional. Just someone who's fairly new at playing the position at off-ball linebacker. He was really good. Now, he struggled, to read his keys at times, which is understandable. He was an edge rusher. But this is someone who's an elite athlete. He's got elite close. You're not going to find anybody, probably besides Abdul Carter, with better closing speed than Jahad Campbell. Exceptional blitzer. And for the main thing with him was for someone his size, he's about 6'4", 240. For someone his size to be out in the open field and have the cover ability that he has is just unreal. Jahad Campbell's a freak, and him falling to 31, and for Philadelphia, who just, again, like Baltimore, continues to get these guys down the board, that is just, I don't know, the rich get richer, as Jahad Campbell himself said. Philadelphia, I think they were trying to trade up to like 23, 24 to get Jahad Campbell, and they only needed to trade up one spot with Kansas City to get him. Just an absolute steal at 31. It's hard to get better than Jahad Campbell at 31 as far as value goes. Just an unreal player.
Yeah. Yeah, that pick gave me kind of Nakobe Dean vibes, where it felt like Nakobe Dean fell in the draft a couple of years ago, and we saw how that worked out for them in the Super Bowl. So that's immediately what I thought of.
Both guys with injuries. It happens, man. Injuries are a part of the game, unfortunately. But those were our favorite draft picks from us. Really, really big, SEC circle here. But let's move on to the winners and losers. We'll get to losers later. But right now, we're going through our winners of the NFL draft as far as teams go. Again, we'll start with Jake, move to Elijah, and then down to me. Who do you think, or Jake, who was one of your first winner of this year's NFL draft?
My first winner was the Giants. They added help to the D-line to go along with Kayvon Thibodeau and Sexy Dexy with Abdul Carter. And then they add Jackson Dart to a quarterback room that is full of character already. And they got more D-line in the third round with Darius Alexander. And then in the fourth round, they added Scatterboo from Arizona State to play with alongside Tyrone Tracy. So he can learn from second-year player Tyrone Tracy, and I think he can be a good running back.
I like the Giants draft. They BPA at 3, Abdul Carter, not really much to think about there. The Jackson Dart pick wasn't my favorite, considering that they did trade up for him.
Yeah, they could have waited.
But it's like, if it's your guy, it's your guy. Go up and get him. It's hard. Like, the NFL draft really is just, throwing crap at a wall and see if it sticks.
I mean, he could turn into the next Eli Manning.
I don't know.
I was going to say, guys,
both from Ole Miss.
Quarterback of the future for the Giants.
I think he can be. He realistically, he shouldn't play at all next year. Best case scenario, he just shouldn't. He really just needs to sit back and, learn, because I see what people see in Jackson Dart. He's got he's a decent athlete. He's got a decent arm. He's got decent size at the quarterback position. It's just really, like, the Ole Miss offense is just nowhere near pro style at all. It's just, these deep passes that he continued to throw, these RPO, like, RPO isn't really, like, you really can't say RPO isn't pro style anymore, just because really almost every NFL team runs RPOs, and, Lane Kiffin constantly runs RPOs. But, the concepts that Ole Miss runs, like these runs double posts a lot. It's not really NFL pro style at all. And Jackson Dart is really going to have like a coming to Jesus moment when he looks in an NFL playbook. It's just, I don't know. That's really my biggest knack with him.
Sit a year behind either Winston, whoever their starting quarterback is going to be.
It's going to be Russ.
Well,
like 99% is going to be Russ. But he at least needs to sit a full year for him to be, something for them.
For him to be playable.
But I did like their draft overall. I thought the Darius Alexander pick in the 3rd round, like you said, he was probably a top 30 player in the entire draft for me. And getting him in the 3rd round is exceptional value. Abdul Carter, BPA at 3. Overall, I think their draft was really good. I agree.
I think their D-line is going to be nice now with Abdul Carter off one end and Pivot off the other.
Yeah, they still have Brian Burns. Like
they still got Brian Burns.
They're going to be. They have a lot of flexibility and a lot of rotations that they can do. Elijah, who was your first winner?
Well, I know we talked about. Well, you two have talked about one guy from this team already with Nick Emmanwori, but I really like the Seahawks draft. I thought the Seahawks killed it. Gray Zabel in the 1st round, great guard pick out of North Dakota State. Really like that one. Emmanwori obviously is, I think, a stud as well, especially to be picked in the 2nd round. Elijah Arroyo, great tight end out of Miami, able to give you a vertical threat at the tight end position. But the big one is obviously Jalen Milroe being selected in the 3rd round. And I don't know what you guys' opinions are about Jalen Milroe going into the NFL. But to have fallen to the end of the 3rd round, I like that the Seahawks kind of took a swing right here, especially not knowing what their long-term quarterback situation would be. I know they have Sam Darnold now, but talking about 3, 4, 5 years down the line, I don't know if we can project Sam Darnold to be the quarterback in Seattle. So I like them taking a shot on Jalen Milroe just to see what you've got out of him. He's so athletically gifted. All of the tools are there athletically. And if you can mold that into an NFL quarterback, I think you could have something really special there. But the big-time value pick for them, 5th round, Torrey Horton, wide receiver out of Colorado State, really, really liked him. And I was trying to think about it, guys. I didn't do as much research as I should have on the Seahawks beforehand. But who's their wide receiver 2 after Smith and Jigba now?
Dang. What is his name?
Cooper Kupp.
But yeah, I think Torrey Horton could be a guy who could receive, immediate action on the field, maybe as a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4. I really like him and his time at Colorado State. They got Damian Martinez in the 7th round. I think he's a really good, underrated running back out of Miami as well. They had some really nice supplementary picks. I really like the Seahawks draft.
I agree. Seahawks probably had my favorite draft out of anybody. I don't know. It's hard to say because my first winner are the boys in Nashville. Hey,
you're a homer, man.
I don't know. I like to stay objective, but I really do think the Titans had one of the better drafts out of anybody. This past weekend, man. Obviously the headline of their draft was Cam Ward at 1. Personally, I don't know. You really need another partner for this, but personally, I would have traded down to get more assets, considering how just incomplete the team is. The team is not good. But Cam Ward at 1. The thing is like if there's any part of you that thinks Cam Ward could be your franchise quarterback, there's no question you go up and get him, because quarterback is the most important position in football, especially in a league like the NFL where there's franchise quarterbacks are far and few between. If there's any part of you that thinks Cam Ward could be that guy, you go and get him. But the big knock about Cam Ward is that he plays hero ball too much. He does make questionable decisions. He does hold the ball too long. But like the thing that people like about him is that he does have these big splash plays. And when those big splash plays happen, he looks special. And, there are better classes with better quarterback prospects than Cam Ward. But like I said, if the front office thinks, any part of them thinks that this is their guy, you go up and get him. So I don't hate the Cam Ward selection here. He wasn't a top 10 guy for me. But, quarterback, like I said, the most important position in the NFL. So you go up and get him. When he does have those special plays, they are special. So I feel like the Titans kind of had to get him. And the second they had Olu Adejo, he's a really great athlete, really explosive player off the edge from UCLA. He can really come in and impact right away. He's a really good scheme fit for them. He's still developing as a pass rusher. I think he only started pass rushing this past season. So he's going to have to learn there. But I do think he can come in and make an impact right away, especially with the loss of Harold Landry. Our edge is like non-existent at the moment. Kevin Winston Jr., a steal in the third round, I thought. Without injury, he goes way, way higher than he did. He's got great size. He's a good athlete. He's a really good player when he is healthy. Missed a lot of 2024. He does. I think he could start right away this season. If he is healthy. Chimere Dike out of Florida, really good route runner, super explosive. When you really watch him play, it's like when this past season at Florida, when I see him, I'm like, You know what I mean? When you go back and watch his film, he jumps off the screen to me. Like I said, super explosive, really good route runner. It's just Florida didn't really give him the ball enough. DJ Lagway, true freshman. Developmental here for him. But I did like the Chimere Dike pick in the fourth. Gunnar Helm. I'm a really big Gunnar Helm guy. He didn't test well because he was on a sprained ankle, bum ankle. He didn't, who cares? Really fluid mover at the tight end position. He's not the greatest run blocker, but he is willing, if that matters. Good enough athlete, good hands, good route runner. He's a solid player, and I definitely could see him starting over Chikakonkwo soon. I really like Gunnar Helm. As Elijah brought up earlier, Alec Ayomanor. I want to say Ayomanor because it just sounds better, but it's Ayomanor. The huge big body receiver out of Stanford. The only thing you need to know about him is he dominated Travis Hunter. Huge body, really good size. He's a good run blocker. Good value in the fourth round. Travis Hunter, best player in the class. We have the Travis Hunter stopper on Tennessee. The great equalizer, Ayomanor. Jackson Slater in the fifth, dog. He was good at the Senior Bowl. He's got good size at guard. Good value. Could start down the line. Who knows? Marcus Harris in the sixth is whatever. Kalel Mullings in the sixth. Really whatever. I didn't think he would get drafted in the sixth. Who cares? But overall, I think that Titans draft with first-year GM Mike Borgonzi, I think it was a really, really good first draft, man. I think we got good value down the board. I think we took shots where, we could afford to. And, we got some steals down the board in Kevin Winston, Gunnar Helm. And we got our potential franchise quarterback, man. It's hard to knock this draft, especially from a first-year GM, man. I really like the Titans draft, and I'm pretty comfortable putting us as one of my winners.
I like it. Even though you are a homer. You are a homer now, by the way.
I've been a homer, bro.
I didn't want to feel biased, so I didn't have them.
When Jackson and I were doing pick'ems on the NFL and college football, not once did I pick against Memphis, and not once did I pick against the Titans.
You gotta own it.
So I've been a homer, brother. I've been a homer. But second cycle around, Jake.
My second winner, I have the Broncos with the Jahad Barron pick to go learn from PS2, who's the best corner in the league. I'd say he's better than Sauce. But for him to go, he can go learn with but from PS2. And in the second round, they got R.J. Harvey, the running back from UCF, to back up, maybe even at some point potentially start over Javonte Williams, who, I mean, he's very injury prone, Javonte. And then they get Pat Bryant at receiver from Illinois. Their receiver room is like terrible. So I think that and then the Broncos bolster up the defense this draft, which their defense was not that good last year. So I got the Broncos at 2.
Nice.
Not to rain on your parade, buddy, but I think the Broncos had a top 5 defense last year.
Well, their defense needs some help.
I get you.
Defense, but it needed help.
By the way, I don't know if PS2 is better than Derek Stingley. By the way, I'd say Derek Stingley's the best corner.
This guy talking about homers.
Well, if you want to talk about homers, I think L'Jarius Sneed's better than Derek Stingley.
Okay.
If he plays more than 2 games. No, but I didn't mind the Broncos draft. Jahdae Barron I thought was really good value for where they got him. I don't remember exactly where that 22 sounds right.
Yeah, I think somewhere in the 20s.
But Jahdae Barron, Thorpe Award winner last year at Texas, really, really good player that they got in the first. RJ Harvey, if you care about production, you can't really look farther than RJ Harvey. I think he was 3rd in college football last year in rushing yards. He wasn't, top of the list as far as running backs go, but you see Sean Payton. He knows what his system is. He knows the guys he likes, and RJ Harvey definitely fits the Sean Payton offense. So I didn't mind the Broncos draft at all. I thought it was, I agree. I thought it was pretty good.
For my second team, I went with the LA Chargers. I thought the Chargers. Yeah, I thought the Chargers had a really underrated draft. I know they just picked up Najee Harris this offseason in free agency, but picking Omarion Hampton at 22, I thought was a really nice value pick. I think that he is their running back of the future, and I really liked what I saw from him in his time with the Tar Heels. Trey Harris in the second round, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. We know the big play wide receiver, Jackson Dart's favorite target. He's special. I think Trey Harris is really, really special. I don't think it was, solely a product of that Ole Miss offense. His production was insane regardless of the great talent that he had around him. And I think he's going to prove that in the NFL alongside Ladd McConkey on the outside with the Chargers. Jamari Caldwell in the 3rd round out of Oregon. Nice defensive tackle. My guy Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina in the 4th round. Touched on him a little earlier. Really liked what he did last season. And Keandre Lambert-Smith, kind of an underrated pick in the 5th round. I know all you think of an Auburn pass catcher in the last couple of years, especially with Peyton Thorne and sometimes even Robbie Ashford throwing him the ball. You don't think of an Auburn receiver as, a really standout guy. But I thought even despite the inadequacies that Auburn's had at quarterback, I thought Lambert-Smith was really, really good in his time at Auburn. I think Cam Coleman, the receiver that they have right now, is going to be really special here in the near future as well. Just bringing that up. But RJ Mickens in the 6th round, my most underrated pick for them, safety out of Clemson. I thought that he was really a great glue guy on their defense over the past couple of years. I think that he's pretty talented, and I think that he could work his way into that starting lineup for the Chargers before long. I just really like their draft. I haven't seen it get a lot of buzz from a lot of people, but I thought it was sneaky underrated.
No, I could totally see it, man. I think the Omarion Hampton pick was BPA. Everybody's like, oh, they have Najee, but Omarion Hampton is a good player. Regardless of what you have on your roster, Omarion Hampton is probably the best player on the board. So I can't hate on it. I like the Chargers draft as well. To touch on my other winner, like you already said, Elijah, I think this is my favorite draft out of anybody in the league. I like the Seahawks draft, man. It was just top to bottom. It's just hard to pick like a really bad pick that they have. I just don't think that they did. Gray Zabel breaking the mold that John Snyder's had. He finally took a guard high in the draft. He looks at his team and he's like, man, we got the worst guard room in the league. Probably should address guard in the draft here. And it's hard to go wrong with somebody like Gray Zabel, man. Played right tackle at North Dakota State, but I do think he has 5 position flexibility. But he will be an NFL guard. That's what the Seahawks drafted him to be. He was a top 25 player in this class for me. And it was just a huge position of need for Seattle. It's hard to go wrong with somebody like Gray Zabel to fill a huge position of need. Like Elijah and I both, or me and Jake both touched on earlier, Nicky Manwari, absolute freak athlete at safety. Like I said earlier, highest graded relative athletic score for a safety ever. Freak ball hawk, really instinctive, can play a number of positions. Really, really like Nicky Manwari. Elijah Arroyo was my tight end 3 after Loveland and Warren. Senior Bowl standout, was just murdering guys in the one-on-ones. Really explosive, can run right by you. He isn't a true inline tight end, but he's a really, really great receiving option. He's going to be a fun fit in Seattle. Also a really fun fit, Jalen Milroe at the end of the 3rd round. Now it's like Jalen Milroe, he's really raw. You have Sam Darnold. What's the point? But for the end of the 3rd round, I think it's fantastic value for somebody like Jalen Milroe, for him to sit and develop, behind Sam Darnold. Not Sam Howell anymore. They just traded him. But if you let him sit and develop for a couple of years, he could really, really be special. He's an insane athlete. He's already got a good deep ball, but everything else, I think, needs work. Jalen Milroe at the end of the 3rd round, I thought was exceptional value for Seattle. Riley Mills in the 5th probably goes higher without injury. Torrey Horton, like you said earlier, Elijah, he falls because of injury, and when he came back from injury, he didn't really produce. So that's really the reason he falls. But he had an unreal 2023, and I thought he was really great value for Seattle here. A potential starter in your wide receiver room in the 5th round. It's hard to go wrong with that. Damian Martinez in the 7th, good size, really good downhill runner for Miami this past season. Mason Richmond from Iowa, and Ricky White. A lot of people like this pick from UNLV. Is a big-time deep threat. It's really hard to have any complaints with Seattle's draft here. I really like everybody they got, honestly. If I graded this, it would get an A+ for me. It's just really hard to have a problem with anything that Seattle did here.
I'm right there with you.
I agree.
Number 3, our last winners. We can keep going, but we're here to we're talking.
Not everybody can be a winner now.
Huh?
Not everyone can be a winner.
Not everybody. Jake, who was your last winner?
At number 3, I have the Browns. They get Mason Graham, a D tackle. He can go with, him and Myles Garrett can rush the quarterback. And then they took linebacker Carson Schwarzenegger from UCLA. So and then they added Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson to go in the running back room, where they just lost they're losing Nick Chubb to free agency. And they need people to play running back. I think Judkins might start at running back for them. And then they got Shadur in the 5th round. But I did not like the Dylan Gabriel pick in the 3rd. But the Shadur was a steal for the 5th, is what I would say.
Do you guys have any insight into why he fell that far? Do you guys know? I have no idea.
I don't know exactly, but what I'm assuming is if he's falling, if he's falling that far, you're drafting him to be a backup, and I don't think teams wanted a headache with somebody who's going to be your backup quarterback. Shadur is, regardless of where he goes, just because of his family, his father, himself, even he's going to get a lot of media attention, and I think some NFL teams see someone we're drafting to be a backup, is he worth all of this media attention? I don't think so. And plus, he's got character concerns. The things you see after the game, talking about things on Instagram and whatnot, it's like, come on, it's just, I think it boils down to just a collection of a lot of things. Character concerns, the media attention that he's getting, and the fact that he's not a great quarterback prospect. I think he's a good quarterback prospect. I think he was a top 30 player for me. But when you look at everything that he does, and you don't really see something he does great, and if he falls past teams that need quarterback, and he falls in an area where, teams aren't really looking for quarterback, and then a collection of the media attention, character concerns, I can see why he fell. Now to the 5th round, I think it's a little ridiculous. I think he's better than a 5th round player. Brown's got exceptional value. I think he was at 144. But I think that's why he fell as far as he did. I just don't think the NFL teams were wanting that, media attention and the headache that comes with a backup quarterback.
Well, I think the Browns are fine with the headache. I mean, they got Deshaun Watson. That's a headache enough right there.
I mean, they're trained for it already.
Yeah.
What's one more guy?
No, I get that. It was just, you expected to see him go day 2, if not day 1. Day 1 was understandable to me, but to see him fall beyond day 2 was just like, okay, there's got to be something that all 32 teams are seeing here that they've all agreed upon that they just cannot have at this high in the draft. And it just kind of bewildered me, and I'm sure a lot of other people as well. But yeah. So for my last team, I went with the Chicago Bears. I thought the Chicago Bears had a really nice draft. They pick up Colston Loveland at 110, tight end out of Michigan. And although I like Tyler Warren personally, I do think Colston Loveland is a really, really nice tight end as well. And Luther Burden at 39, who, before this season was projected a good deal higher. He had some concerns with some of the things that he did on the field. I heard that his route running was a little, questionable to some people, but I mean, on tape, Luther Burden looks like an elite receiver to me. I think he's going to be really good with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen to play alongside in Chicago. I don't know much about their offensive tackle in the 2nd round, Ozzie Trapolo, but Shamar Turner, defensive tackle out of Texas A&M, I do know a lot about. And I really like him. I thought that he could have went a good deal higher in this draft. So those 3 picks alone are really what sold me on the Bears draft. But even later on, I know Za Frazier, the cornerback out of UTSA, I know the Memphis people have some experience with that guy from this
former
past
receiver.
Yep. In seasons before. But I picked up Luke Newman, offensive tackle out of Michigan State, Ruben Hippolyte out of Maryland, and Kyle Monangai out of Rutgers, the running back. I just thought it was a really solid draft for the Bears, and it sets them up. It sets Caleb Williams up pretty nicely for the future.
A lot of weapons for Caleb Williams. When they picked Colston Loveland, tight end 1, I was liking it. Ben Johnson, getting a good tight end, a good receiving tight end in for his quarterback Caleb Williams. I saw pick a Colston Loveland, like, all right, put him in the slot, power slot for Colston Loveland. Not much of an inline guy, not really much of a blocker, big receiving tight end. I was excited for it. Put him in the slot, power slot, up the seams, let Colston Loveland do work, and then you see them pick Luther Burden, who's like just going to be a slot receiver in the NFL. It's like they have a lot of different things that they can do now. Caleb Williams has to be foaming at the mouth with all these new weapons that he's got and these new linemen that they brought in free agency. I think the Bears on offense with Ben Johnson at head coach now, Loveland, Burden, all these new guys that they're getting in, I think Chicago has done a really good job this offseason.
Not even to mention Rome Odunze. I forgot Rome Odunze's name completely.
Yeah, and I think Allen's not back at Chicago. I think he's still a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Still, great future ahead for the Bears offense, theoretically.
trending upwards. And who else is trending upwards? A lot of changes this past offseason, new coach, new regime. The New England Patriots. I loved what the New England Patriots did this offseason, this draft. Rooting for Mike Vrabel as always. But I love what the Patriots did, man. Didn't really get incredible value at 4 for Will Campbell. But you need somebody to protect Drake May and to get his blindside tackle. And if he's their guy, you go and get their guy. That will always be, something I agree with. If he's your guy, go and get your guy, man. And he could end up being an unbelievable tackle if he stays there. And if he's not, just stick him at guard. He's going to be good. The question for him, short arms. But, he's still a good tackle regardless of his arm length. But, in the NFL with these edge players that have, super long arms, having short arms is an issue. But we'll see with Will Campbell. If not, stick him at guard. He'll be a really, really good guard. Travion Henderson in the second round. Ton of juice from Travion Henderson. I was surprised to see him go, or surprised to see Judkins go before him. But Travion Henderson, ton of juice out of the backfield. He's a great pass protector, great receiver out of the backfield. And getting weapons for Drake May, not just somebody on the outside, but somebody in the backfield too. I think Travion Henderson probably is their starting running back this next season. More versatile and more, dynamic, especially over Ramondre Stevenson. And he's better. He's basically just a better Antonio Gibson. So Travion Henderson, really, really good pick in the second round. Kyle Williams, I thought was incredible value in the third round. He was a top 5 receiver in the class for me. He was a really, really good overall player. He can do whatever you need him to do. Good route runner. Good. He can high point the football. He can play in the slot. He can really do whatever you need him to do. And I think he has potential to start as early as week 1 for New England. Another weapon for Drake May. Jared Wilson, starter potential in the third round. He's the best true center in this class. Start again in the third round. You get somebody with starter potential. Really, really good value for New England. Craig Woodson, I thought, was good value in the fourth. Good player with good athleticism. Safety out of Cal. I thought Joshua Farmer, I thought, was probably their best pick in the fourth round. Starter potential, again, trend with this New England Patriots draft. Defensive lineman out of Florida State, really good size. He's really good against the run, and he's a really, really good athlete, especially for his size. Braden Swinson in the fifth. Why was he there? Really good size for a true edge rusher. And you could, if you watch his film, he's got games where he just dominates, man. Especially, I think it was that South Carolina game where he just took over. Loved Braden Swinson in the fifth. They get Andres Barragalis, the Miami kicker. He's probably just going to be their kicker next year. Marcus Bryant from Missouri. Julian Ashbury from Vanderbilt. And Kobe Minor, Mr. Relevant. I don't know how he got drafted. He barely played. But yeah, again, like I said about the Seahawks draft, it's really hard to find an issue with this New England Patriots draft class. Got weapons for Drake May, got guys to protect him, and Will Campbell and Jared Wilson. Got some guys to bolster up that defense. Again, I would probably make this an A+ draft from the Patriots. I love their draft, man. The building around Drake May, which I think is the way to go. Protecting him, getting him more weapons. Just build around your young stud QB and let it ride.
No, I agree. I was going to put them too, but I figured one of you guys would have them on this. So I'm glad you came through for me.
Yeah, I love the Patriots draft, man. Now to the unfortunate part of the podcast, we got to talk about losers. Hate seeing people lose, but got to talk about it. And it's hard with the draft. It's like it's the same thing with winners. We don't know how these guys are going to turn out. You can have an idea of some of these guys, like you have your blue chip guys who are most likely going to be good, and the rest are just kind of up in the air. So to say a team lost the draft, it's kind of like a shot in the dark. We only have, like, we can only say from the information that we do have right now. So take whatever we say with a grain of salt. We're just, using the information we have right at this moment. So your first loser, Jake.
You said 3, I have 4, but I know it's supposed to be teams, but I'm just going to say, 2 right now. My first one, I have the Sanders family.
Ooh.
Okay.
I mean, Shadir going round 5, and then after Dion saying that he deserves first round, and they retire his jersey and everything, which I don't think he deserves his jersey retired at all. And then Shiloh not even getting drafted, which everybody knew that was coming. But that was just one of them. And then I've got the Saints draft. I like the Kelvin Banks pick, but besides that, I really don't like any of it. Like Tyler Shaw at round 2, pick 40. I think that's a terrible pick. I do like the Devin Neal pick from Kansas, the running back from Kansas. I do like that pick, but everything else, I don't like the Saints draft.
No, I get it.
Tyler Shaw. I mean, I'm sure most of us have seen that one clip in the combine clip. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. But even like
from rags to riches, Tyler Shuck.
I mean, yeah, nothing ever really popped off to me about that guy as an NFL quarterback, even a college quarterback. So I didn't understand that one either. But guys, this may be controversial. This may be a controversial team that I'm about to have as my first loser. I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars here.
Wow.
I think obviously Travis Hunter is the most talented player in this draft, but not knowing how he will be used and to what extent on both sides of the ball as an NFL player kind of, makes his career trajectory cloudy for me. I don't know what to expect from him. He could very well turn out to be one of the greatest players of all time and just completely, rewrite modern football as we know it as a cornerback and receiver. I don't see it going that way, though. I think that it will kind of lie in the gray area between him being really, really good and him being a complete bust. But outside of that, too, I don't – none of their other draft picks kind of pop off the page for me. I think that they kind of tried to sell this like, hey, guys, we got Travis Hunter. We traded up to get Travis Hunter, and this is what we're going to walk away from this draft with. And outside of that, I just don't think that there's much substance to their draft, and I think it's very reliant on Travis Hunter being incredible, and I don't know if that's going to be the case. So that's why they're going to be a loser for me.
No, I can see it. They gave up a lot for Travis Hunter, but it's like, it's Travis Hunter, man. Would you really it's stupid how good that Travis Hunter is. He's just unbelievable. He was the number 1 receiver prospect and the number 1 corner. Don't listen to anybody that tells you he wasn't number 1 for both. He was unbelievable. He won the Biletnikoff while also playing full time at corner.
Ridiculous.
It's unbelievable how good Travis Hunter is. I thought he was the best player in the NFL draft. Jaguars move up and get their guy. As much as I hate it, Travis Hunter's going to be in our division for the next decade. It's probably why I've had Tennessee as a winner. It's cope. I cope. But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. They gave up a lot for Travis Hunter. Didn't necessarily do anything amazing down the board. Travis Hunter was their claim to fame. Travis Hunter Merchants in Jacksonville.
Exactly.
My first loser, copying Jake, was the New Orleans Saints. And my notes, I put notes as to why, and my only reason why was Tyler Shuck. I like the Kelvin Banks pick at 9. He's a really good player. He does find himself on the ground a lot, but I do like Kelvin Banks as a player. With the Ryan Ramczyk retirement, you needed somebody to fill that void at tackle. Bring in Kelvin Banks, I think it's fine. But at round 2, pick 40, You get Tyler Shuck. I can't support it. There's really no justification here. He wasn't near a top 50 player, and you get him at 40. He's super old. I can see why. I can kind of see why, New Orleans was enamored with him. He has NFL size, he has an NFL arm, but he's not good. So, like, I don't really understand it, other than, he's got the NFL body and the NFL arm, but he's also like, I think he's like the same age as Will Levis. So,
yikes.
I think I can't rationalize it at 2, and he's probably going to be New Orleans' starting quarterback come week 1 with the uncertainty around Derek Carr. So I just can't support it at 40. Tyler Shuck, if this was like a 6th round, 5th round pick, sure. But at 40, I think they traded up for him. Like, I don't really know. Vernon Broughton in the 3rd. He's got good size. He could be a good rotational player in the 3rd round. I thought it was a bit of a reach for Broughton. Jonas Sanker out of Virginia. I think this was their best pick. The Saints. He's got good size. He's a good athlete at safety out of Virginia. Danny Stutzman, 4th round pick. Can't really cover at linebacker. He can tackle. I think he's similar to like how Blake Martinez was a few years ago, where it's like, yeah, he gets paid because he gets all these tackles, but it's like, how is he getting those tackles? He's allowing people to catch the ball in front of him. So I think Danny Stutzman is a little similar to that. I think the name alone is kind of shadowing what he actually is. He just can't cover. Quincy Riley, I thought, was a pretty good pick in the 4th. He's a good slot corner option. Devin Neal, as Jake said, I kind of liked him, kind of a jack of all trades guy at running back. I don't know how to say this tight end's name. Mataval.
Moliki
Mataval out of UCLA. I've never heard of him. And Fadil Diggs, I thought, was a decent pick in the 7th round. Overall, I thought the Saints draft was kind of poopy. I'm not going to lie. You really have, even after, a long talk to yourself about Tyler Shuck, you still just don't like it. Tyler Shuck is he's just not a good quarterback prospect, even after being in college since 2018. He's just not a good QB prospect. I remember in like 2020, I saw a mock draft with him going number 1.
What?
And he, 5 years later, he's the 40th overall pick. So he's probably going to be their starting quarterback. Like I said earlier, if he's your guy, go and get him. But, usually your guy is better than Tyler Shuck. So
surely that's going to be the quarterback of the future.
I don't know. His future's past him, bro. He's in the twilight of his prime already.
He's past his prime. I mean, that's just throwing in somebody else old with Derek Carr.
I mean, we'll see how it goes. Maybe he has a Drew Brees arc of a career and becomes a Hall of Famer in his 30s, which will be next year. So who knows? Maybe Tyler Shuck will be the GOAT. But as of right now, from the information that we have, this was the worst pick of the draft.
He could be the next Tom Brady.
Picks could start falling from the sky also. The second loser.
The second loser, I have the 49ers. The 49ers, they lost 2 offensive linemen in free agency. And in the 1st round, they took Mykel Williams. I like that pick. But they didn't cover O-line at all in the draft with any of their picks except for round 7. They took Connor Colby, the guard from Iowa. That's the only O-lineman they took. And they lost O-lineman. So I don't think the 49ers drafted the best. I think they could have drafted better. They could have took some O-linemen.
No, I agree.
And with Trent Williams being 47 or however old he is, he's about ready to retire, I feel like. So they're going to have to replace him.
I do think they needed to address O-line. Losing Aaron Banks. Who else did they lose in free agency?
Jalen Moore.
Jalen Moore. Those guys, honestly, are expendable. Chiefs kind of overpaid for Jalen Moore, and Packers certainly overpaid for Aaron Banks. So I think the 49ers were okay with letting them go, but it still stands. They needed to replace them, and I think the 49ers could have definitely done better with replacing.
I do think the 49ers helped their defensive line out a lot, but with Michael Williams and Alfred Collins, but you got to have an O-line to protect Brock Purdy.
No, I agree. 49ers, they had an okay draft. We probably would have gave it a B, but the O-line definitely is a glaring hole in their team.
Yeah, for my second loser, I decided to go with the Minnesota Vikings. They only made 5 picks in total, which is a shockingly low amount for a team that's going to be theoretically building around a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. They picked Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State guard in the first round. I think that's a good pick. But after that, they didn't pick until the 102nd pick in the draft, where they picked Tay Felton, wide receiver out of Maryland, who I think there were better receivers on the board at that point. But we'll see how he kind of pans out. But after that, they only made 3 other picks from the 5th round on. And I think if you're going to really buy into J.J. McCarthy, you need to surround him with a great offensive line for one. And I don't think that Minnesota accomplished much in this draft. Their secondary is very weak. They came in with a glaring need for a cornerback in this draft, and they did not draft a single cornerback. So I'm guessing they like what they have. I don't really, but yeah, I didn't think Minnesota accomplished what they needed to. Maybe they think that, but from my non-expert point of view, I don't think they did.
No, I think you're right on the money. I had Vikings as my second loser too. They go in the draft with only 4 picks, and they get out of the draft with 5, which is still not a good amount. You at least get 7 every year, and you go into the draft with 4. Donovan Jackson at 24, I thought was fine value. He played tackle this past season for Ohio State with the Josh Simmons injury. He struggled, against Abdul Carter. Most people did, but that was his first game starting at tackle. I thought, Donovan Jackson was fine value. He's a good pass protector. He's got good movement for somebody at guard. And, the Vikings really, really needed a guard bad. And I thought at 24, I thought it was good value for someone like Donovan Jackson. And after that, it starts to fall off a cliff really, really bad. Tay Felton, I thought was okay in the 3rd round, but like you said, better guys ahead of him. He's really fast. He's a good deep threat, but surprisingly, I think there was surprisingly a lot of Maryland guys taken this year. Maryland had a lot of guys drafted. So yeah, Tay Felton in the 3rd round, not the greatest pick in the world, not the worst either. Tyrion Ingram's Dawkins in the 5th round. He's a good rotational D lineman. That's really all he's going to be if he does make the team. Kobe King was one of the better linebackers in the draft in the 6th round, but not a great linebacker class. Kobe King, you can't really point to anything that he does good. So, he'll be a good special teams guy, but Gavin Bartholomew, never heard of him. So, if he makes the team, he'll be a guy in the tight end room. But the Vikings, they only had 5 picks. They go into the draft with 4. They get out of there with 5. But their draft, it doesn't really move the needle. You know what I mean? Like you look at somebody like the Seahawks or the Patriots or even Tennessee, Cleveland. These teams that are picking impact guys right now, it's hard to pick a lot of impact guys when you only have 5 picks and half of them are in the 5th round or later. A little understandable, but still, Vikings really didn't get any impact guys. Didn't really move the needle for their team at all. I think you kind of have to slide them in a loser spot here. Just didn't really do much. Our final losers, man. The end of this pod coming up quick. Time flies when you're with your buddies. 3rd loser.
I have the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
I like the Kenneth Grant pick from Michigan. It helps their D-line. they needed to fill the safety after losing Javon Holland, and they took Dante Trader Jr. from Maryland, another Maryland guy drafted. I don't know anything about him. They really did help. They helped the O-line. They got Jonah. I do not know how to say his last name, but I will try. Savinia from the guard from Arizona.
I think it's Savaiina.
I don't know how to say it. Jason Marshall Jr., I feel like he could be a good corner, but I don't know. And then they took Ollie Gordon, running back from Oklahoma State. They already have good running backs with Achane and does Mostert still play for them? Or did he retire?
Him retiring sounds right.
I know he's old, but I don't
forget he's old. It seems like he played somewhere else this past year.
He plays for the Raiders now.
Wow, I had no clue that happened at all.
Didn't either. And I guess they drafted Quinn Ewers for if Tua goes down with another concussion.
The Quinn Ewers thing is pretty crazy because Miami offers him $8 million to come and play quarterback with them before they go and get Carson Beck. He says no. He declares, and he goes in the 7th round. He was just going to go to Miami anyway. It seems like. But him going in the 7th is like kind of crazy. I didn't think he was a good quarterback prospect, but him going in the 7th was, I don't know, man.
I mean, if Tua can't stay healthy again, then he might get to play.
I think Zach Wilson comes in and plays if Tua goes down. But, like, it is crazy saying, like, hey, Miami offers him $8 million.
And he
$8 million to transfer and come play for them.
It down.
And he goes and I think he's getting paid $800K to sit third string.
Yeah, the Dolphins were my last loser of the draft.
I don't hate it, man. I did like the Kenneth Grant pick. This time last year, I think he was, projected to be a top 10 overall selection. Has some pass rush upside, but he's a huge guy, 331 pounds. Really just there to eat blocks and stuff to run. Jonah Savaiina played tackle for Arizona this past season, but he's gonna be an NFL guard, which I don't hate for Miami. Jordan Phillips, I thought it was a really, really good run stopper. I think he was, at the top as far as run stoppers in the draft. Wrestled in high school. He's a really, really good, defensive tackle, especially value in the 5th. I didn't hate the Miami Dolphins draft, but, after these first 3 picks, it does kind of fall off a little bit. Ollie Gordon, his fall from grace, too, is kind of crazy, along with Ewers. They kind of had a trend here in the 7th. I didn't hate the Dolphins draft. I probably would have gave it like a B-, but I can see how you think they lose. They just, didn't do a lot after the first 3 picks. You're next, Elijah. Sorry.
Yeah, this is my last team. I went with the Cincinnati Bengals here.
Wow.
We know how atrocious their defense was last year, and although I did like their first-round pick with Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M, who is really, really nice in my opinion, I don't think they did much besides that to compensate for some of the things they might even be losing from an already bad defense with Trey Hendrickson asking for a trade. They picked Demetrius Knight Jr. in the 2nd round, linebacker out of South Carolina. He's a pretty good player. And I think Barrett Carter, their 4th-round selection linebacker out of Clemson, is solid. But those are their only defensive picks. They did not make a pick in the secondary. They did not address some of those needs at the safety and cornerback position. They picked Taj Brooks in the 6th round out of Texas Tech, running back. I do like Taj Brooks a lot. I don't know.
Steal.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an impact. I feel like he could have been more impactful on another team. But I do think that's a good pick. But defense was obviously the name of the game for Cincinnati, and I don't think they did a good enough job in addressing that issue.
A lot of people are hating on the Shamar Stewart pick. I love Shamar Stewart, man. He was playing at 290, over the season at Texas A&M. I think A&M asked him to, get bigger on purpose. But the A&M wasn't really using him right. He goes to the combine. He has the same with Nicky Manwari, the most athletic safety of all time. Shamar Stewart tests as the most athletic defensive end of all time, like by a lot, I think. He shows up to the combine at 267, kills the combine, the biggest combine story of the year. And then you watch his film. He's like, this guy's a freak. He must have had insane production. Doesn't have very good production. And then you watch the way they used him at A&M. He was really just setting the edge, sitting there on zone reads. When they did let him rush the passer, he was killing him. SEC competition, he was murdering him. He does need to clean up and finish plays, finish sacks. But I think if you look past production with the way that they were really using him, they were putting him in the 4-eye, which is not the edge. I think Shamar Stewart's going to be a crazy impactful player for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Other than that, it's not amazing. I like Dylan Fairchild in the third. I think he's a mauler at guard, 6'5", 318 at guard. I like the Taj Brooks pick in the sixth. Eric Carter I thought was a steal in the fourth round. I remember a couple years ago he would have been a first round player. I think the Bengals draft was fine, but other than Shamar Stewart, it kind of could have been better. Like you said, they should have addressed secondary.
Yeah, that was my beast gripe.
My last loser. The Houston. No, I'm just playing. I did think about putting Houston in here, bro.
It was not a flashy draft by any means.
You guys drafted Graham Mertz.
Yeah.
He was not draftable at all.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think the Texans had a horrible draft. But the Packers are my last loser. I had the Green Bay Packers. Just a lot of, I don't know, man. They just had a lot of questionable picks. I like the Matthew Golden pick in the first round. First time since 2002, the Packers drafted first round receiver. Great speed, great shimmy after the catch. You watch him play at Houston. As a Memphis fan, I was familiar watching him at Houston. Great return guy. Really good after the catch. He's got really good shimmy. I can't really use a better word. He's a really good route runner, good with his hands. A clutch performer this past year at Texas. He was the guy in the clutch moments. Watch the Arizona State game. They were constantly going to Matthew Golden in the big moments. He was just the guy for Texas. He goes and runs a 4.29 at the combine. Doesn't quite play at that speed. Plays at around a 4.4, which is still good, but he's not, playing at elite speed as you would like him to. Overall, I think Matthew Golden was a good pick in the first round. In the second round, they picked Anthony Belton. I did think it was a bit early for Anthony Belton, especially with the guys on the board. We griped about Cincinnati not taking anybody in the secondary. I really think in the second round here, especially with this pick, with the guys on the board, Green Bay should have addressed corner instead of another guy fighting for a spot on the offensive line. Anthony Belton, he's a huge guy. He's super strong as an ox. But again, I do think they could have taken some guys in the back end that would have helped. Savion Williams for TCU. He's a fun gadget player, but do you really take that guy in the third round? I don't know. He's more of like, if you watch him play, he's more of a a running back at 6'4", 220. Than he is this receiver. Taking a gadget player again over defense, which I thought they should have taken. Barron Sorrell in the fourth round, their first defensive pick. Didn't really think they needed any help on the D line, but is got some questions about Rashawn Gary. Is he going to bounce back? Colin Oliver in the fifth round had a great 2023. Didn't really do much at all in 2024. Warren Brinson, good rotational guy from Georgia in the 6th round. Micah Robinson from Tulane. And John Williams from Cincinnati in the 7th. Whatever picks, but still, I thought the Packers, they had plenty of picks to work with, but they just passed the talent that they could have used more. I think Savion Williams was probably the most useless pick they could have picked. He's a gadget guy, but in the 3rd round, I don't think you really take a swing on somebody like that. Anthony Belton is just like a 6th offensive lineman, maybe even 7th. Like, I don't know. Did they really need to take somebody like him? I think he's a good player, but in the 2nd round, especially for somebody like the Packers with the personnel that they do have, I did think it was a bit early. Matthew Golden, I like to pick at 23. But the Packers, I think with the resources that they had, with the picks that they had, especially in the spot of the draft that they were in, I think they could have done better.
I feel like the Packers should have took a DB in the 2nd round.
That's what I think.
There
were plenty of DBs on the board, and they took Anthony Belton.
Yeah, I think I really would have liked Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. I really liked him, and I thought that he would have been a good fit there.
Yeah, or Savon Rebel out of East Carolina. I thought he was a steal for Dallas in the 3rd round. The fact that he falls because he tore his ACL at the beginning of the year, but Dallas gets him in the 3rd round. I thought he would have been a steal in the 2nd round for Green Bay right there where they took Anthony Belton. So just some questionable picks. They take a receiver. They have a lot of good receivers in that room. Nobody really outstanding. I think they keep the trend going with Matthew Golden, but just some questionable picks. Did you guys have any honorable mentions for winners, losers, best picks? Any guys that we didn't mention that you wanted to mention, or we should have mentioned?
I liked Ashton Jeanty going at 6 to the Raiders. I know.
I did like that.
Yeah, I know the Raiders have a lot of, glaring issues as well, and they'll have to decide what they're going to do at quarterback here before long. But I like the Ashton Jeanty pick a lot.
Yeah, he was a top 3 player in the class, and, best player available at 6. It's not a bad pick at all. I think Ashton Jeanty is one of the best running back prospects we've ever seen. Really fun to watch him play. Anybody have a honorable winner, honorable loser?
I liked the Jack Sawyer pick for Pittsburgh. I think that was
round pick. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Pittsburgh had a sneaky solid draft, despite not drafting a quarterback until Will Howard.
Yeah.
I thought they made some really nice picks.
I like the Will Howard pick. I think him in the 6th round was pretty good. He might start. Who does Pittsburgh have outside of when they get Aaron Rodgers? Mason Rudolph, is he going to throw the ball to Metcalf and George Pickens?
Mason Rudolph.
They're going to crash out.
Titans legend Mason Rudolph. No, I really like the Buccaneers draft. People didn't like Emeka Egbuka in the 1st round, but they're planning for life, after, Mike Evans, Egbuka not necessarily a 1-for-1 to Mike Evans, but, Godwin, unfortunately, probably going to get hurt. It just seems to happen. Egbuka in the 1st round, I thought I liked it. Benjamin Morrison, as we touched on earlier, really, really good guy for them to get in the 2nd round. I think he early in the cycle, he was mocked in the 1st round. Didn't play much, if at all, this past season, but Morrison, really good cornerback prospect. Jacob Parrish, I loved him in the 3rd round. I love Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. David Walker, Central Arkansas, one of the few small school guys that we've seen. Did you nobody in this draft was taken outside of D1?
Patriots, what are we doing?
Phil's got to come back. Elijah Roberts, edge out of SMU. I liked him in the 5th round. And Tez Johnson.
That's my guy. Tez Johnson.
154 pounds. Jesus,
I think
that is crazy.
Be like a Tank Dell, he's going to be a real NFL player. I think so.
I like Tez Johnson. I was picking his over in Prize Picks every week. But yeah, I did like the Buccaneers draft. I liked it a lot. I liked the Giants draft as well. Jake touched on it. I love Darius Alexander in the 3rd round. Anybody else?
I like the Ravens draft.
I do want to hear your thoughts on Houston's draft, Elijah.
Yeah, it was a little underwhelming for me, especially not to address the O-line in the 1st or 2nd round. It was a little confusing to me because I would have liked to see Josh Simmons at 25. That's who I
They
wanted.
got Ariante Irsay in the 2nd round.
They did.
Out of Minnesota.
They traded to get him, and I liked that. But outside of that, I don't know, because I mean they're bringing in 3 new offensive linemen via free agency with Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, and I forget who the other guy is. But it's just a lot of movement on the O-line. Not a lot is set in stone. And for C.J. Stroud, we know that he has to have that to be successful. We saw him get mauled this past season, and I would hate to see something terrible happen to my guy in the backfield. But I do like the Jalen Higgins pick. I think that he's a really good receiver out of Iowa State. I don't know if he's gonna be the wide receiver 2 of the future. I think that's what they drafted him to be. Jalen Noel, another wide receiver out of Iowa State. So they just really like their Cyclones in this draft.
They drafted 3 Jalens and a Jaden.
Yeah, man. They really like the common names these days. But yeah, the Graham Mertz pick didn't make much sense to me. It just felt kind of like a formality pick.
He just wasn't draftable at all. He's not good.
He's a backup quarterback in college. He can be a backup quarterback in the NFL. So, yeah. But I thought it was just kind of a meh draft. I wasn't overly upset with it, but I definitely wasn't I didn't walk away from it oh yeah, we just got some things done.
I liked Irsay. He was in that tier, below the first round of tackles. The Josh Simmons, the Armand Membu, the Kelvin Banks, those guys, Will Campbell, that set of guys, and then you have a tier below them that guys will go in day 2. I thought Ariante Irsay was in that category. Out of Minnesota, I thought he's a pretty good 2nd round pick. I like Jalen Noel. I liked him over Jaden Higgins. They're two Iowa State receivers is pretty wicked in the same draft. I do like Jalen Noel. I think he's a really good slot guy. A pretty decent. I'm not comparing him to Diggs at all, but I think he's a pretty decent Stephon Diggs replacement in that slot. Woody Marks, purely a receiving back.
Guy.
Yeah, I
a Hail Stater before a USC Trojan. So
yeah,
that's my guy.
Purely a receiving back. But I thought it was cool. They traded every pick that they had. Every pick that they had, they just kept trading down. I was like, when are they gonna finally pick? Then they picked Jaden Higgins at the top of the 2nd. So,
I didn't realize they traded Larry Tunsil until I got to doing notes for this. I didn't realize they traded Larry Tunsil to the Commanders.
Yeah, a lot of mid-round picks. They're taking a lot of mid-round picks, in this draft and also from that Tunsil trade. Texans making big moves. Making some big moves.
I just hope they're for the better and not for the worse. I'm not overly optimistic right now. I won't lie to you guys.
I hope it's for the worst.
I'm sure. No. I'm sure.
My Homer bias over here never denied it. But that is going to conclude this episode, y'all. We appreciate you guys watching. Draft season is over. Next big event is the NFL season. You know what I mean? But I am planning on coming out with some more content for you guys. I've got, to be transparent with you, I got 2 jobs that I'm juggling with right now, so it's kind of hard to find time to do this, but I am trying my best to come out and do some more episodes for you guys. I really want to, this is my passion. This is what I want to do, is this podcast for you guys. So I'm trying my best to come out and do this as much as I can. So look out for more predictions over the off season. we're going to do standings predictions for college football. We're going to do standings predictions for the NFL, awards predictions, everything. If these guys want to join, they're going to be a part of it. I would love to have them on. Just the stuff that you guys were used to, I want to bring that back. So I'm definitely going to be back by the time football season starts. I know that's a ways away, but if there's anything I could promise y'all, I will be back for football season. You guys can count on it. Back for standings predictions. We're going to be back with awards predictions, whatever off-season fun we got. It's going to be here. But we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you guys listening. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think I got some things brewing. Might be moving the podcast to another channel, but that's in the future, not right now. But subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss an upload. Follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts. We are wherever you guys get your podcast. I appreciate Elijah, appreciate Jake coming on. Love talking ball with these guys. And I will see you guys next time.